West Brom, I swear, have you got some sort of vendetta against us staying up? You lose to Norwich, you lose to Newcastle, you don't even let us beat you as well. I know they're obviously not meant to let teams win against them, but it feels like that at the moment. I am literally looking at all the scores, and I have to be honest, I am struggling now to find any remote positives whatsoever. You know, I mean, yeah, you could say we might have been dominant, we might have done anything, we might have been the better team, but that's the third season in a row now that Pulis has come up with the Stadium of Light and frustrated us to a 0-0 draw. You cannot tell me there was not even a remote plan to try and break West Brom down. You can't tell me that there is... Oh. You know, granted, we can still... As bizarre as it seems, you know, it's still in our hands. It's still in our hands. We can actually still steal, because if we win all our remaining games, we've done it, because we've got Norwich to play. But I'll tell you right now, that Norwich-Newcastle game deflated, I think, everybody at the Stadium of Light when we saw that they won. Because I'll give credit to Norwich, as much as they're pissing me off at the minute, that's a massive 3 points for them. And I'm not just saying that because it's against Newcastle, but it was one of the biggest games, you know, it was one of the biggest games of Norwich's and Newcastle's season. And I think Newcastle, especially losing in the last minute, and obviously mathematically they're still in it, but it's very difficult to see Newcastle staying up at that point. They're 6 points behind Norwich now. And really, the last two games could define Newcastle's season. Sunderland at home and Norwich away, rather. But, you know, they had to get at least a win and a draw, if not 2 wins from both of those games. And they've drawn against Sunderland and lost against Norwich. Now, why couldn't it have just been the other way around? But that's it. You know, what can I say? Sunderland, of course, have a game. Both Newcastle and Sunderland have a game in hand over Norwich. Now, Newcastle have got Man City, which, although they won today against Bournemouth, still iffy for me. They still haven't turned up, really, since Pellegrini announced he was going to leave at the end of the season. And then they've got, you know, we've got Everton, which is 50-50, but Allardyce against Everton's got an abysmally poor record. All I can hope for is that by the time, they've got a few midweek fixtures as well, and they've got them in the FA Cup as well. So all I can hope for by this point is that they might be fatigued by the time they play us and we can beat them and hopefully stay up. But I think at this point I'm starting to half accept relegation. And I shouldn't be having to do that because the chances we had at the start of the season to get points, and we didn't bother to take any of those chances. You know, Leicester away, I don't give a monkeys at the top of the league. They were expected to be in the bottom 3 at the start, or around the bottom 3 or bottom half of the table at the start of the season, and they breezed past us first 25-30 minutes because we didn't bother to turn up there. Norwich at home, most pathetic displays I've ever seen. You know, and Bournemouth away, albeit you could say, yeah, maybe we were a bit unlucky, but the fact is we shouldn't have been 2-0 down in the first place. And while I'm on the subject of being annoyed, West Brom fans, well done for reaching the 40-point mark. I mean, you were safe before this game, but I'm going to be honest here. Your goalkeeper was an absolute disgrace in this match. Every time he got a goal kick, 10 years isn't long enough. He took an absolute eternity to kick the ball away. Show some bloody class, man. Show some class. I really do feel half deflated after that game. I mean, if Sunderland... I still think Sunderland's next 2 games, if we win the pair of them, and if Norwich lose against Palace, then it's back in our hands again. But it's all ifs and buts. It's all ifs and buts at this point. Especially the Southampton and Newcastle games are increasingly more annoying now because we ended up drawing both of those games and we should really have won the pair of them. And the fact is, even if Sunderland had drawn today and Norwich and Newcastle had drawn, it wouldn't have been too bad because we'd still be 2 points behind them with the game in hand and still to play them. Whereas now, the only half good thing about Norwich winning today and us drawing is the fact that they look to have put a massive dent in Newcastle staying up. They could have took one of the teams out for us. But we've now got to go to Norwich and win. A point isn't good enough there anymore. We've got to go there and get all 3. And the fact is, Norwich are a team we should be targeting to beat. Same with Leicester, if you ask me. Yes, the top of the table, but can you really tell me they've got are Leicester suddenly Barcelona or Real Madrid, the way everyone's writing off that game? No. That's a game I would expect Sunderland to try and get 3 points, even if Leicester have been great this season. And I'm not slating Leicester off. Granted, a bit of it's jealousy. Maybe that's poor sportsmanship on my part, I don't know. But I just don't rate Leicester as highly as everybody else does, because They were a team in the bottom 3 last season, needed a great escape to stay up, and in the Championship the year before then. So you give me a reason why we can't beat them at home. Yeah, they've got a bit of pace about them and the teamwork's fantastic, but they're there for the taking. You know, especially after Tottenham drew today. If Leicester win against Southampton, then that could benefit us massively. If it was at the King Power Stadium, I would probably have agreed, because at home they've been excellent in particular, but why can't we beat them? Why not? Palace, don't you dare lose next week. Don't you dare lose to Norwich. You've been warned. I suppose on the one hand, I hate predicting Sunderland scores. So at least if we go down, at least I won't have to predict the scores anymore, will I? I guess it's just ifs and buts, isn't it? Well done to Norwich. I will give them credit for that, because that was a massive win for their season. That was a game they had to win. Well, it was a game that I think if Norwich had drawn, it would have been a better result for them than Newcastle. But Newcastle had to win it, and they've lost a must-win game. So it's starting to look like it's going to be between Sunderland and Norwich battling survival. But weirder things have happened in this position, so I'm not ruling Newcastle out completely. Oh my God. We'll have to see. Anyway, guys, I love yous and leave yous there. Can Sunderland, Crystal Palace and Southampton please win next week? I'll say no more.